Hello and welcome to highlights of the 1993 US Grand Prix, brought to you by Mircoprose and GP2Joey. We're in America this weekend for the 14th round of this phenomenal and dramatic season, which sees the Watkins Glen race finally take place after much politicking after championship leader Ayrton Senna's near fatal crash last time out at Monza. Alain Prost claimed the win in Italy in his Ligier-Prost car after Senna's crash brought out the red flags and the race was stopped, but the Brazilian still heads the standings by 13 points ahead of Ferrari's Davies and Williams-Renault teammate Damon Hill, with Prost the only other driver mathematically still in with a chance of claiming the title, whilst Williams claimed their first Constructors' Championship since 1987 in what was a terrible weekend for the sport. The aftermath of Senna's horrendous accident was dramatic, as news eventually filtered back to the paddock that the Brazilian was placed into an induced coma, but has somehow survived the 190-mile-an-hour collision with the Minardi of Pierluigi Martini, and the drivers publicly slammed the sport's governing body FIA for allowing the race to take place without chicanes, despite pleas from them that it was too unsafe to do so. This ultimately resulted in the US race being called into question pending a circuit inspection by the FIA, who then sensationally approved it, but the GPDA chairman Davies Hill and Michael Schumacher flew to the US early and then promptly confirmed the drivers would all boycott the race as they deemed the Watkins Glen track too dangerous. Senna, now back home and recovering from his broken leg and ribs in Brazil, implored his colleagues to drive for the good of the sport regardless of the consequences it could have for his championship lead, and eventually common sense prevailed. With a few improvements, the newly reformed GPDA relinquished their threat and the race was confirmed at the 11th hour. Among all this, Martin Brundle was confirmed at McLaren for 1994 after signing a one-year deal, and JJ Leto would be staying put at Sauber for another year. Newly crowned IndyCar champ and defending F1 world champion Nigel Mansell then declared he would not step into Senna's seat for the remaining races. Arguably though, the biggest news was that Benetton had signed the impressive Heinz-Harald Frentzen as partner to Schumacher, with the German teaming up with his former Mercedes sports car teammate for the next 2 years on a rumoured £3 million deal. News then reached the paddock that Senna himself was targeting a miraculous return to the season-ending Australian Grand Prix in November if the championship battle with rivals Davies, Prost and Hill is still raging. And then it was confirmed by Williams that IndyCar star Alain Senna would replace the Brazilian on a rolling contract starting this weekend for his home Grand Prix. Friday morning's pre-qualifying session was an intense 30 minutes as the bumpy circuit proved difficult to find a decent setup for the 12 drivers, and there were many attempts from all to improve lap times, but in the end, and fastest by over 4/10 from the rest, it was the LaRousse of Eric Bernard and Mark Blundell in the Brabham who ran out fastest. With both teams progressing into the race weekend further and joined by Zach Speed, whilst Pacific, BMS Dallara and the lackluster Andrea Moda once again were all forced to head home early. When the top runners first hit the track on Friday afternoon, fears prior to the weekend that Watkins Glen would be quick were proved wrong. It was ultra quick, and with Senna missing from action, focus was on his 3 championship rivals, and it was Prost who set the early pace. Revelling in his first taste of F1 action since last year's Hungarian Grand Prix, Senna's replacement on Sir Junior was also impressive in the Williams, ending up 5th quickest, whilst Davies tried hard in the Ferrari, but was unable to topple Prost, who claimed provisional pole by a mere 0.08 of a second. For the likes of Gerhard Berger, Jean Alesi and the 2 Benettons of Brundle and Schumacher, it was a nightmare session, with all drivers failing to set a lap time. Saturday's final qualifying session wasn't any better for Schumacher, as his race and then T-car both suffered severe engine failures early on, whilst Brundle was over a second off the pace. And whilst Prost continued to improve his lap times and look almost dead set for the pole, Davies suddenly put in a time of 1 minute 27 dead halfway through the session, which ultimately proved unbeaten. Down at Benetton, there was total shock, as having jumped into Brundle's car for a last-minute attempt to get onto the grid and set a lap time, Schumacher's car then inexplicably broke down again with yet another Ford engine failure and left the German failing to qualify for Sunday's Grand Prix. And so it was Davies claimed his 4th pole of the year ahead of Prost, Alesi, Hill and the impressive Hakkinen, whilst the American favourites Unser Jr. and Andretti claimed 8th and 9th respectively. Afterwards, a delighted Davies remained optimistic he could convert the pole into a win and make inroads into the absent Senna and his championship lead of 13 points. Whilst Prost admitted Davies' lap was impressive, but he was convinced he had a better race pace, and Alesi confirmed he would be doing all that was needed to help his teammate come race day. Down at Benetton, however, there was outrage with Ford as Schumacher slammed the US car giant after his failure to qualify, and despite a public apology to the driver and team from Ford, Benetton boss Flavio Briatore then declared he would be immediately talking to other suppliers about an alternative engine deal for next year. Having committed to Ford for 94, McLaren boss Ron Dennis was quick to offer his services at Ford as Ford's works partner next year, and later it then emerged that Johnny Herbert had signed a one-year deal to join Tyrrell, and Footwork confirmed their cars would be powered by Fords on a weekend that had been a simple PR disaster for the brand. So it's Davies and Prost on the front row with Alesi and Hill on row 2. Row 3 is Häkkinen and Brundle. Row 4 is Berger and Unser Jr. Row 5 is Andretti and Leto. Row 6 is Vendinger and Frentzen. Row 7 is Irvine and Zanardi. Row 8 is Suzuki and Barrichello. Row 9 is Nakajima and Herbert. Row 10 is Warwick and Martini. Row 11 is Bernard and Fittipaldi. Row 12 is Blundell and Nakaya. And at the back it's Ursa and Hattori. We get ready for the start. As the red lights come on, the engine rows rise, and it's go, go! Davies is off to a good start from the pole position, but look at Hill! From fourth on the grid, Damon Hill has jumped into the lead. Fantastic start for the Englishman. He leads into the first turn, with Prost and Alesi battling over third place, but it's Davies who's faster out of the first corner. He goes for the inside, and it's ouch! My goodness, they both collide. Hill's into the wall. Davies has been hit. They both go out. Fantastic development here at Watkins Glen. Both title contenders are out. And with Senna not racing this weekend, there was an opportunity to bag a colossal amount of points for either of them. And they are both out on the first lap. And that means to say that Alain Prost is into the lead with Jean Alesi in second. It's Gerhard Berger third. JJ Leto's in fourth place. In the Sauber, fantastic start for him with Brundle in fifth in the Sol Benetton. And Unser Jr. and Alan Unser Jr. Senna's replacement. He's just past the Benetton of Brundle. Häkkinen is seventh. It's Andretti and the other McLaren in eighth, with Carl Wendlinger ninth and Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 10th as Prost rounds the last corner for the first time. He's across the line at the end of the lap. And it's a 1.4 second lead over Alesi. Fantastic stuff. What a start for the American Grand Prix. And that's Unser Jr. going through on the inside of JJ Leto. So Unser Jr. in his first race since the 1992 Hungarian Grand Prix when he replaced Nigel Mansell. He's up into fourth place, but let's have a look at a replay.
Yes, initially a very good start there from Damon Hill, but you could quite easily see that Davies was on the inside and they just collided there. My goodness, that was a very lucky escape. That was a very hard hit for Damon Hill. But I want to see, this is what we want to see. We want to see the mesmeric start from Damon Hill. Look at the traction control kicking in the Williams-Renault, jumping him from fourth into first place. And I suspect we'll see that he was quite slow through the exit of the first corner. And he was a little bit there, but let's just have a look and see. I think he can sense that Davies is already on the inside. And to me, that very much looked as though Damon Hill turned in on Davies there. I think he could have hung it out around the outside. And here's a slow-mo replay. If Davies comes through on the inside, you can see he's there. So he'd already committed himself to the inside. And I'm afraid to say that for me, that was Damon Hill's error. And we're on board now with Davies. And we'll see Damon Hill just turning in there. It was a very hard hit for both of them. But nevertheless, they are both out.
And Andretti and Häkkinen. They are battling each other. Häkkinen must have passed his teammate, and Andretti has repassed him for 8th position, with Carl Wendlinger Sauber just ahead of them as we ride on board with Gerhard Berger. And the Ferrari is already 6.2 seconds further back from Prost. who's across the line with a Lacey 2.3 running rear gunner, and Brundle down the inside of Unser Jr. Fantastic racing right the way through the field. Brundle, the sole running Benetton, as Eric Bernard, and that's one of the Minardis, that's Fittipaldi. They're all racing hard throughout the field, and Prost almost losing it. Prost almost losing the back end of his Ligier. Fantastic stuff.
Well, I've got to say, this is quite impressive from Alain Jr. in 5th position, and I very much hope that he can score some points, because from my recollection he finished 7th last time out in Hungary last year when he deputised for Nigel Mansell, and I think that at this American circuit to see him in the points would be sensational, as it would be to see Michael Andretti up there. But him, Häkkinen and Vendinger seem to be... As Suzuki loses it! Suzuki spins his footwork. Yes, quite unsurprising there, because there's a serious lack of talent in the Japanese driver, and I very much doubt that he's going to be on the grid even next year. But Andretti's looking to make a pass on Vendinger. He can't get through into the chicane. He can't get there. Vendinger, what a battle that's raging between the Sauber and the two McLarens, with Berger in 3rd position, still holding firm ahead of Martin Brundle on lap 15. And there's Martini going up, and he spin! He's into the barrier. Martini, who was infamous for his collision with Ayrton Senna last time out in Monza, but absolved of any blame for trying to get out of the Brazilian's way, and he's already spun, and he is out of the race. As Häkkinen and Frentzen and Irvine come into the pits. Yes, and I think we're going to see, as Barrichello looks to get out of the way of Martin Brundle there, I think he was trying to just make his way through there. I think it's high time we're going to see some of the pit stops now, as Hattori comes into the pits in the Zaxby, with Jean Alesi across the line, and Alain Prost is into the pits. So Prost is into the pits, the race leader. He's in the pits. Is he going to be able to get out ahead of Jean Alesi when Alesi makes his stop? This is the opportunity for Jean Alesi to really try and put the hammer down and try and close up the 3-second lead to his teammate whilst he's into the pits. He's got a completely clear track ahead of him. Yes, and it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with Vendinger and Andretti now, because Häkkinen's already made his stop, and where is he going to emerge once Vendinger and Andretti come into the pits, because they are in a right ding-dong battle. And speaking of one of the Saubers, that's JJ Leto into the pits, as we're on board with Alain Prost. So Prost is out of the pits. It was a fantastic stop, but Jean Alesi is still into the lead, and we're expecting him into the pits at any moment, with Vendinger and Andretti absolutely tied together with Blundell in the pits in the Brabham. Jean Alesi's come in, so Alesi's into the pits, and this is what we need to see now. Where is Alain Prost going to emerge? Is he going to be ahead of the Frenchman? I'm pretty sure that he will be ahead. He seems to be setting some competitive lap times in the first 2 sectors of this lap. As he rounds the final corner now, Alain Prost, he's across the line chasing one of these Zach speeds. He's over the line, and I'm pretty sure with Alesi thundering his way down the pit lane, Prost is going to take the lead. There's Alain Prost with Alesi there, so Prost is still into the lead as Vendinger peels up into the pits with Andretti. What a battle this is going to be. Vendinger slows, he's into the pit box, but who is going to emerge? As Alain Prost rounds one of the Brabhams, that's Blundell. Andretti's into the pits, as well as Vendinger. But what's going to happen between the two of them? We really want to see what's going on there, Mr. TV Director. But Alain Prost is ahead of Jean Alesi, so Alesi was unable to make up any ground on his teammate. Yes, quite interesting stuff as Warwick comes into the pits from 10th position now. But Cora Ursa, I note there, in 14th position. So a fine performance from the Dutchman, with his future very much in doubt at Brabham as well, with the young Jos Verstappen, the German Formula 3 driver, very much rumoured to be nearing a deal. And Brundle! Brundle slowing on the approach to the chicane. On the back straight, Brundle slowing, and that's JJ Leto going off. He has to take evasive action and spins. So as Brundle retires, JJ Leto spins the Sauber. He's off. He's into the grass. He's into the gravel. And there goes Häkkinen. And Vendinger goes through. Where's Andretti? He goes through on the right of your picture. And Frentzen goes through. So JJ Leto is tumbling down the order. He's down into 10th position as Eddie Irvine goes through. He's up into 9th place, but back up front, it's Jean Alesi in 2nd. The gap is 4.2, and there's Suzuki. And Hattori in the Zach speed, and Suzuki goes through. So Suzuki is through into 16th position.
but Alain Prost is still 5 seconds to the good. And there he is. Alain Prost, he's 22 points behind Senna in the Drivers' Championship, and he's definitely looking to capitalise on that and get the 10 points for himself today and see if he can close the gap to 12 points as Bernard spins. Bernard spins the LaRousse and he hits the wall, but is he able to continue? But Alain Prost, he's only 22 points behind Senna.
Yes, I think this is going to be absolutely critical now. And there's Vendinger. So Vendinger battling Andretti again, and Vendinger goes through. So good exit out of the S's there from Carl Vendinger. And he's back up into 6th place. And what a fantastic battle this is. But yes, it's going to be certainly interesting to see if Alain Prost can finish the race, get the 10 points, and close the gap to Senna to only 12 points. Because Senna is undoubtedly going to be missing from the Japanese Grand Prix. And more than likely, he will be missing the season-ending Australian Grand Prix. But it's going to be interesting to see nonetheless. But we're on board with Gerhard Berger, and he's trying to get past one of the Brabhams there. I think that's Blundell. It is. Blundell's desperately trying to get out of Berger's way because Berger is desperately trying to close up the gap to Jean Alesi. But there's nothing he can do there as that's Unser Jr. going through in 4th place. But he's over 17 seconds ahead of Häkkinen, Vendinger and Andretti, so Unser Jr. seems quite secure in 4th position with Berger in 3rd. It's Alesi in 2nd and Alain Prost still the race leader as the drivers are going to be looking to come in for their second tyre stops any moment. But look at Irvine, and that's Prost running wide. Yes, Alain Prost running wide,
and I suspect that he's slowing. Prost is slowing. He's got a problem in the Ligier. Sensation at Watkins Glen. He's going to come into the pits.
No, he's missed the pit exit, the pit entrance. So Alain Prost pulls over.
And he's out. Prost is out. My goodness me, Alain Prost is out. A near certain victory is ripped from his grasp and Alain Prost is out. And that means to say that he cannot win the 1993 World Championship. He's out.
And that all means that Jean Alesi is now into the lead. With Andretti battling Vendinger once more, and Andretti goes through. Fantastic racing. Frentzen is into the pits, but Andretti is back up into 5th place. But he's now some seconds behind his teammate Mika Häkkinen, but can he close the gap? And Al Unser Jr. in 3rd place as he comes into the pits. So Unser Jr.'s into the pits with Berger ahead of him. And there's Nakaya battling Suzuki, trying to get through with Berger into the pits as well. Jean Alesi elects to stay out for another lap. Can he win? Can Jean Alesi take an incredible victory? One Ligier is already out. Can Alesi see the finish? As Barrichello goes round the outside. But JJ Leto is now back up into 8th position with Frentzen in 9th and Alesi's into the pits. Yes, Jean Alesi into the pits there as we ride on board with Mika Häkkinen. And Nakaya 14th and Korursa in 15th, but it's the two Jordans. And there's Heinz-Harald Frentzen with yet another failure in the Tyrrell. Disaster for Frentzen. Disaster. He's already committed to Benetton for next year. And I cannot imagine he will be wanting to get out of that Tyrrell seat as soon as he possibly can, because he cannot buy a finish at all in 1993 since he moved from the Joes team after their failure earlier in the season. But Jean Alesi is back out and he is 46 seconds ahead of Gerhard Berger with Al Unser Jr. in 3rd place and Häkkinen in 4th. And Vendinger 4 seconds ahead of Andretti with Irvine in 7th. Barrichello 8th. How fantastic would it be to see a Jordan score a point? Yes, I think that would be sensational here. But Al Unser Jr. doing a commandingly well job in 3rd position as we ride on board with Eddie Irvine in 7th position. With Jean Alesi in the lead now, with Gerhard Berger 2nd, Häkkinen in 4th, it's Vendinger 5th, Andretti 6th, and Irvine in 7th. With Al Unser Jr. desperately trying to see if he can finish the race, but the Williams reliability needs to be called into question. And speaking of reliability, that's Jean Alesi. Heartbreak for the Frenchman. On the penultimate lap, he's out. Jean Alesi is pulling over in the Ligier, so it's going to be yet another double DNF. And that means to say that Gerhard Berger is going to inherit the lead with Unser Jr. in 2nd, and that's going to promote Mika Häkkinen up into 3rd place. But Alesi is going to pull over, and he is going to be out of the Grand Prix. I cannot believe my eyes. Alesi is out. And there's Unser Jr. now into second position, with Häkkinen in third, Vendinger fourth, Andretti fifth, and Eddie Irvine in sixth position. So he's got ahead of the stricken Jean Alesi, and Barrichello is going to be promoted into seventh, and there he goes, with Leto into eighth, and Christian Fittipaldi into ninth place. But what a race this is, because Gerhard Berger is now the race leader with Häkkinen in third place. And we want to see Gerhard Berger on this final lap, because he's going to take his first win of the season in what has been one of the most dramatic and exciting Grand Prix as Häkkinen crosses the line. Where's Gerhard Berger? There he is. He's on the final lap. Can he see the checkered flag? He's only got 2 corners left to go. He's got the left. He negotiates the left. He's just got the right-hander, and then he's across the line. But Gerhard Berger comes out of the final corner. He powers, and he's across the line, and Gerhard Berger wins the American Grand Prix. Fantastic stuff, with Alain Jr. taking a quite brilliant second. He will be absolutely delighted with that. In only his second Grand Prix as Häkkinen crosses the line. Häkkinen takes a fine third for McLaren. What a Grand Prix! It's Gerhard Berger, the winner, here at Watkins Glen.
In a season bursting with drama already, this race was arguably the most dramatic of all, and whilst there were tears for the heartbroken Alesi, there was real joy at the sight of Berger claiming his first win since Portugal 1989. Behind the Austrian, Unser Jr. delivered an outstanding performance as Senna's replacement of Williams in his home Grand Prix, and Häkkinen was a fine third after winning the race-long battle with the Sauber of Vendinger and teammate Andretti, as both took 4th and 5th respectively, ahead of Irvine in the Jordan, who claimed the final points-paying finish in 6th. On the podium, Berger celebrated in style, admitting the win was not overdue, before dedicating it to his good friend Senna. There were tears of joy for Unser Jr. after the American admitted he was surprised with the result, but thanked the Williams bosses for giving him a superb car. Häkkinen meantime declared his third place had been hard fought, but that he and his McLaren team deserved the result in what has been a difficult year for the defending constructor champions. Title rivals Hill and Davies were then declaring the other to be at fault for their opening lap crash, with most in the pit lane of the opinion that it was just a racing incident, whilst for Prost there was frustration at a 6th DNF of the year, and one that now sees him eliminated from the championship hunt. A heartbroken Alesi was inconsolable in the pits, no doubt wondering what else he can do to claim his maiden Grand Prix win. In the drivers' standings, Senna remains 13 points clear of Davies and Hill, with a maximum of 20 available, and with the Brazilian unable to race in the next round, the pressure will be on the two Brits to deliver a win and keep their championship hopes alive for the final round in Australia. Ferrari have extended their lead over Ligier-Prost to 13 points behind champions Williams in the battle for second, in what was a disastrous weekend for Benetton, whilst McLaren pulled 5 points clear of Sauber in 5th. We head to the Far East next time out, and the glorious Suzuka circuit complete with the reinstallation of the casino chicane at the end of the lap as part of the safety improvements in the wake of Senna's Monza accident. Can Davies or Hill claim the win and keep themselves in the title chase and set up another last race decider as the absent Senna continues to recover at home in Brazil? Will Schumacher bounce back with a win, or can Berger make it 2 from 2? It promises to be another exciting race, but for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for round 15 of the 1993 Formula 1 World Championship and the Japanese Grand Prix.